Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we have some exciting news to go over. Two devblogs have dropped today. The first one that we'll be tackling here in a second is going over a new tech line of ships that Wargaming has just announced, our next tech line, and some new premium ships. The second devblog includes a new mode that Wargaming's trying out in the next update. Well, the next update after the one coming out next week, 14.4. So let's go ahead and get on into it. As always, links to these two devblogs are in the description down below, so you can check out the devblogs for yourself, or if you want to read along as I read aloud. Any relevant images or artwork included with these devblogs will be shown on screen as we go through them. So, starting out with the devblog titled New Ships Closed Test 14.4, should be the first one linked down below. So the devblog says, "It's the best time of the month again." It's not my payday yet. For update 14.4, we're very happy to share details about the newest tech tree line coming to the game. An alternative branch of American destroyers, along with several new premium ships. So, you heard that right, finally we're getting a second branch of American destroyers. Took them long enough, although we have enough premium American destroyers to make several lines, but yeah, a new American tech line of DDs. So, new American destroyers. Update 14.4 will introduce 4 new American destroyers as part of a new tech tree branch, which is focused on the use of main battery guns. Ships of Tier 8 and above use an experimental 137mm 5.4-inch gun developed by the U.S. Navy between 1939 and 1940 during their efforts to improve the firepower of their smaller ships and secondary battery of large cruisers and battleships. Compared to the current branch of American destroyers, ships of this line will have improved main battery guns with a good fire rate combined with high damage per minute, as well as access to HE and SAP shells. But this comes at the expense of worse concealment and a smaller number of torpedo tubes. This line is set up for mid to long range engagements, as their average speed and concealment make it harder for these ships to close the distance on the enemy and disengage from unfavorable situations. These destroyers are rather large, which on one hand makes them a bigger target, but on the other hand they have a large HP pool to help them survive the onslaught. The branch's distinctive feature is a new smoke mechanic. Instead of having a finite number of charges that are used up, this line of destroyers will have a smoke generator that can be activated and deactivated at will, making use of a charge mechanic similar to a submarine's dive capacity, though this smoke generator cannot recharge. This will allow you to adapt your smoke generator to your needs at any given moment, be it a shorter smoke to stop your ship from getting spotted, or a long-term offensive smoke to set up a strong firing position. There will be a minimum activation period before you can deactivate the smoke, as well as a cooldown time before the next usage. Once the consumable has been used up, it cannot be used again. In the future, more ships in our game may take advantage of this type of consumable with a total duration rather than separate charges. These destroyers are best suited for long and middle range encounters, bringing down an enemy with a combination of HE and SAP shells. And the new smoke mechanic will let them either stay in relative safety or push forward to advantageous but dangerous positions. Okay, first off, this new smoke mechanic, I kind of like it. Because, in, of course, real life, you didn't have a certain number of smoke charges, right? You had, I'm sure, the fuel you would add into the however they went about doing it, right? So you had a certain amount of smoke generator fuel, I guess you will. So I like that it's a little bit more realistic in that aspect, but also it's very, very useful. Like the game you're watching in the background right now, I get down to pretty low HP in my gearing, right? So when I'm using my smoke later on in the match, I'm mainly using it to just break line of sight so I can go dark, right, and skedaddle away. But of course, I'm dumping a full duration American smoke screen there and just leaving it because I can't sit in it, So having that mechanic obviously is a massive, massive tool in these guys' tool belt. So that's pretty cool. Now it sounds like they're kind of like the Hull, but of course not to the same levels of the Hull, right? Having an 8-inch, having 3 8-inch guns mounted to their deck, more of that second line destroyer that we've seen pop up, and kind of like the Elbing line. Again, not to that crazy of a size with the guns, but second line destroyers. These guys won't be the guys going in early in the match and duking it out with other DDs. But they will be those DDs behind those frontline DDs supporting them with their big guns, it does sound like. So let's go ahead and take a look at the ships. Interesting to note, too, this line is starting at Tier 7 rather than Tier 8, where most of the split lines tend to start now. This is yet again an incomplete branch. This is what, the 4th or 5th one we've gotten here recently of a split that's just like, well, in this case, 4 ships instead of 3 ships, which... one more ship is cool, right? But I'd like to see some, full lines return to the game. Yeah, I get it. Most of the player base plays at Tier 8+, but hopefully, again, with the low-tier rework, that might change. So, why waste resources designing ships all the way down when, again, 90% of the player base, well, like 80% of the player base plays at Tier 8+. But anyway, let's take a look at these guys. So, the first one up is the American destroyer, the Hughes, which will be the Tier 7. The second member of the Sims-class destroyer, this American destroyer, was the first such vessel to escort a British convoy all the way to the UK. She later went on to serve in the Pacific War, escorting U.S. Navy carriers and protecting USS Yorktown at the Battle of Midway and USS Enterprise at the Battle of Santa Cruz. During the liberation of the Philippines, she was struck by a kamikaze. She returned to service in 1945 before being decommissioned in 1946 and expended as one of the targets in Operation Crossroads. So many museum ships irradiated in the second. So, looks like the Hughes doesn't have the new guns just yet. That starts at Tier 8. So she still has her 4 single-mounted American 127mm guns. So it's a Sims, but gun-focused, from what the description reads. You do get SAP, so it's a Sims with SAP, right? So that seems to be a pretty fair trade-off at Tier 7 for the torpedo power. You get 2x4 533mm torpedoes, maximum damage of 11,600, range 9.2 kilometers, 55 knot speed, reload time 95 seconds. So let's see, what's the smoke? What do they say with the smoke screen? Okay, so the duration time is 5 seconds. The reload time, oh sorry, that's the damage control party. The smoke generator, total usage time 140 seconds. Minimum usage time is 20 seconds. Cooldown after use is 25 seconds. Dispersion time 5 seconds. So you have 140 seconds of smoke total. The minimum amount that you can use it for is 20 seconds. Then you have to wait 25 seconds before you can use these bursts of smoke again. So in between 20 seconds and 140 seconds, you can use any combination of that time up to 140 seconds. Then you're out of smoke. Okay, that's interesting. Alright, so let's start with the ships that have the new guns, which is the Osborne, the Tier 8. A hypothetical refit of the famous Fletcher-class destroyers. We have yet another Fletcher in game, gentlemen. Let us rejoice. Again, I want all 215 Fletchers in game, however many they made. I want every single one of them in game, wargaming. Osborne will carry 4 of the experimental 5.4-inch 137mm guns developed by the U.S. Navy in 1939 through 1940. Had the gun been accepted, it is possible that a new destroyer based on the Fletcher class would have been developed for them. To compensate for the greater weight of these larger mounts in their ammunition, the ship only carries a single quad 533mm torpedo launcher. The ship is named in honor of U.S. Navy Lieutenant Weedon Edward Osborne, who died during World War I and was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. A Clemson-class destroyer bore his name in the 1920s. Okay. So let's see. She has 17,800 hit points, 19mm plating. The 5.4-inch guns have a firing range of 12.5 kilometers base. The maximum HE shell damage is 1,950, with the maximum SAP shell damage being 3,000. Now, the SAP can penetrate 38 millimeters of armor. Pretty good. Really good at Tier 8. And what's the reload time? Reload time is 3.2 seconds base. Okay. Sigma of 2.0, maximum dispersion of 109 meters. So the smoke generator, is it any more? It is more. So the total usage time for the smoke generator on the Osborne is 160 seconds. The minimum usage time is 20 seconds as well, and again a 25-second cooldown after your smoke. Okay, pretty interesting. And then we get this thing, the American destroyer Christopher, the Tier 9. A hypothetical design based around a planned twin version of the experimental 5.4-inch gun, with reinforced AA armament similar to late war U.S. Navy destroyers to allow for the heavier main and AA battery. A single quintuple torpedo launcher is carried. The destroyer is named in honor of U.S. Navy Ensign Harold Jensen Christopher, recipient of the Navy Cross, killed in action during the Pearl Harbor attacks. Okay, so the Christopher, 20,700 is her maximum hit points. Well, base maximum hit points, 19mm plating, and 12.8 kilometer base range on her 3x2 5.4-inch guns. Again, 1950 maximum inch shell damage, 3,000 sap damage, but a reload time is 4.1 seconds. Okay, so longer reload time, and you have double the guns as the Osborne. Okay, so scrolling down. So the torpedo tubes 1x5, 533s, maximum. They're gearing torpedoes. Oh, they're not gearing torpedoes. 16,633 is the maximum damage. They have a range of 10 kilometers, speed of 60 knots, reload time of 85 seconds. Okay, interesting. So short range torpedoes. I mean, they're giving up torpedo power for the gun power, right? And the smoke generator, the total usage time is 180 seconds. With a minimum usage time of 20 seconds, cooldown of 25 seconds after the burst. Yeah, so that's all the same too. And she gets an engine boost that's active for 128 seconds, 3 charges of that. Okay. And then we arrive at the Burrows, the Tier 10, which I'm looking at the model for the Christopher and the Burrows, and I want to say this looks like... what are these? These are some interesting models. They look slightly gearing-ish, yet not. Are they like... But at the same time, too, they're giving me Forrest Sherman vibes as well. The spoke stats and the mass and stuff look very Forrest Sherman-y, but the superstructure looks more gearing. So, it looks like it's a kit bash. If this is some for the Christopher and the Burrows, which they're slightly different. Someone tell me what these are. I suspect a Forrest Sherman hull with a gearing-esque superstructure and Forrest Sherman funnels. That's what it looks like right now for me. But anyway, let's go ahead and look at the Burrows. I'm being a little bit too carried away with trying to figure out what these are kit bashes of. I don't think they're an entirely new model, but I could be wrong. Anyway, the Burrows, an even larger variant of a potential twin 5.4-inch armed American destroyer. Burrows carries post-war twin 3-inch 76.2mm heavy AA guns. Like the previous members of this branch, she also carries a single quintuple torpedo launcher. The ship is named in honor of U.S. Navy Lieutenant William Ward Burrows, who died of his wounds during the War of 1812 while commanding USS Enterprise. From the 1910s to the 1940s, 2 U.S. Navy ships bore his name. Alright, so the Burrows, you have 23,900 hit points base, again 19mm plating, 3x2 of the 137mm guns, obviously, 13.1 kilometer maximum gun range base. Again, 18 sap shells, same stats there, 1950 maximum HE shell damage, 3,000 maximum sap shell damage, you get 38mm pin with the sap. 3.5 second reload time, though, on the Burrows, which is an improvement over the 4.1 second, 4.1 second reload of the Christopher. Okay, so let's see, smoke generator, 200 seconds maximum time on the smoke. Again, minimum usage is 20 seconds and 25-second cooldown after that. Okay, so that's a long time to have a smoke up for. So if you want, you can really just friggin' sit in there and just vape to your heart's content at that point. That's a little nuts. Obviously, though, you probably don't want to expend that all in one sitting, right? Her torpedoes, though, so 10.5 kilometer range, but 19,033 maximum damage on the torps with a speed of 66 knots and a detection range of 1.4 kilometers. So, I mean, like, it's not short range torpedoes, it's like medium, lowish range torpedoes, but good alpha there for sure. Okay, so this new kit bash line of American destroyers, we got some new turret models. But then we got what I suspect is a 4 Sherman hull, and then looks like they just went in their 3D files and collected an assortment of superstructures from a variety of American destroyers and just smashed them together like a bunch of Lego sets after the Osborne at least. So I suspect that's what they're doing here. Again, if this is an entirely new model, please let me know because I'd love to give Wargaming credit for that. We got our first new model in a while from Wargaming with the Seal. The British premium submarine. So I was hoping, the next, well, we'll see. There's such a huge lead time on these tech lines that I'm hoping we start to see some brand new models here in the future. But I guess we'll see. All right, so these are pretty interesting. The new smoke mechanic is quite intriguing to myself. I do quite like the American destroyers. I quite like the gearing line. And, it's nice seeing a second line of American destroyers pop up finally in Warships. So this is a line I will be keeping my eyes on. All right, next up is the new premium ship. So we are getting a Tier 10 I-56. Now, we don't have an image for this ship just yet. I'm assuming it will look like the I-56, but a little bit more modern. So let's see what they have to say about this. One of 3 B-3 class cruiser submarines commissioned in 1944. She managed to damage a tank landing ship during the U.S. liberation of the Philippines, later converted into a Chiton carrier, and is believed to have been sunk by American aircraft in April 1945. I-5644, oh my god, this is going to get a little tongue twisty here with all the numbers, has only acoustic torpedoes that can be used in 2 different ways. You can stay safe at a safe distance and rely on their high range and maximum damage along with a fast reload. But if you choose to do so, they will work as unguided torpedoes because of the limited sonar range of 7 kilometers, while the torpedo range is 15 kilometers. Oh, that's interesting. I-5644 also has a second tactical option up her sleeve. Because the torpedoes have rather unique parameters, allowing them to retain higher than average damage at closer ranges, so you can take a riskier approach and get close to the enemy to aim your torpedoes using sonar. But keep in mind that she can't stay submerged for long periods because of her poor dive capacity and her large size, and bad concealment make her an easy target for opponents. Even her high HP pool won't save you if an enemy fires on you at close range. That's why you should use hit and run tactics, make one good hit, and quickly retreat to avoid retaliation. Thanks to the fast dive capacity regeneration, soon you'll be ready for another attack. I-5644 will also carry one 140mm deck gun. This gun is quite unusual since it's equipped with HE shells, which are good at starting fires and can come in handy when you need to deal with surface submarines or finish off damaged destroyers. On top of this, her gun is complemented with the main battery reload booster consumable. What? What? Which can help supplement a close-range playstyle, or be used to set fires from longer range on enemies that have used their damage control party. And since she is equipped with a short-range submarine surveillance consumable, she can force enemy submarines to the surface to deal with them using her gun. In addition to this, her consumable set includes a long-duration reserve battery unit. I-5644 will be mainly for players who enjoy her Tier 8 variant, I-56, as well as the more typical torpedo boat fans. At the beginning of the battle, it is best to keep your distance from the enemies, using your torpedoes as unguided ones. And if you see an exposed target, then get close enough to make a single crushing blow and retreat. Okay, that's interesting. So what they done here with their torpedoes too is quite interesting as well. So apparently, the torpedoes will reach their full damage potential at 10 kilometers. So from 3 kilometers to 10 kilometers, you're like over, what do they say here? So they only reach half their maximum damage at 3 kilometers, okay? So the damage potential increases from half of their damage to their maximum damage which will be at 10 kilometers. Interesting. That's an interesting way to deal with that. So the torpedoes have a maximum damage of 20,800. So from 3 kilometers to 10 kilometers, you'll start at 50, so you start at 10,400, and then from there, you'll go up to 20,800 at 10 kilometers. That's an interesting way to solve, some of the frustrations with submarines. So basically, if you get ambushed by this thing from close range, you won't be eating full damage. I know this is how the French destroyer torpedo boat line works. They have the incremental increase on their torpedoes over range. But a main battery reload booster on the guns, so it's active for 8 seconds. You give a 50% buff to your reload time of the main battery gun, which already has a reload time of 2 seconds. So you have a 1 second reload for 8 seconds. So you can get 8 shells out in a quick burst with the main battery gun. Man, if they gave this thing sap like the I-56, that would be kind of cracked. All right, you know what? I'm interested. I like the I-56, I-56-44. You know what? Feed it some crack. Let's let it rip. Oh, that thing's gonna get changed a bunch before it comes out. My gut's telling me that. All right, up next, a new Soviet premium battleship, the Zarya Svobody. Zarya. We're gonna call it the Zarya, which is a Tier 9. One of the variants of the Battleship A, Soyuz, design developed in 1936 in accordance with the concept of creating a large ocean navy. The ship inherited her name from the Russian pre-dreadnought battleship that took part in the events of the October Revolution. Fans of the resilience of Soviet battleships rejoice. Zarya takes the national trait to the next level, with very high armor thickness on its belt and general plating. On top of that, the ship enjoys improved torpedo protection, allowing Zarya to enter the thick of the fighting and take the hits your teammates would struggle to survive. Interesting. Combined with her good concealment, DFAA, and fighter consumables, she is well defended against ships of all types. Her signature Soviet fast damage control team consumable with an increased duration also boosts her survivability, but keep in mind that the number of charges is limited. In terms of her armament, she retains a formidable set of hard-hitting 406mm guns with special accuracy settings that encourage close-range fights due to more unpredictable gunnery at long range. Other downsides is poor handling characteristics that are traditional for Soviet battleships. With its high defensive armament, which is most effective at close range, Zarya is designed to operate on the front lines. You're tough, but you're not invincible, so in the pursuit of close combat, don't forget about positioning. Given the poor maneuverability of the ship, if you find yourself in the crosshairs of several enemies at once, it will be difficult to disengage and survive the encounter. The model of the ship is not ready. It will be shown in a later publication, but it's a Soyuz. So let's look at these stats here. Alright, so she has 73,500 hit points and 46% torpedo damage reduction. That is indeed quite good. So yeah, looks like she has a Zarya's gun, same stats there. What's the reload time on these guns? 31 seconds, yeah. Alright, so the, where is her, her repair party. So it's active for 28 seconds. The Soviet damage column, the battleships last for what, 10 seconds, right? And it reloads in 80 seconds. You get 3 charges of that. No, I'm sorry, that's the repair party. My bad. So the duration time of the fast damage con is 20 seconds. Reloads in 40 seconds, 4 charges base. So yeah, it's still double the runtime of the Soviet quick damage con. And keep in mind, you can put Kutuzov on the ship and get an additional free charge there. The repair party does last for 28 seconds, regenerates 365.5 HP per second, reloads in 80 seconds, 3 charges base of that. Again, you can get an additional free one with Kutuzov. Alright, DFAA and fighter as well. Okay, so I really want to know how thick we're talking when we're talking about the armor here. We talking about thick, or we're talking about extra thick? So that is going to be what we're going to be looking for when we can get our hands on the ship and like maybe the P2 server or something, see how thick that belt armor is. Alright, next up is a French cruiser, a new premium French cruiser, Le Havre. Haven't we? No, we've had Le Hardy. This is Le Havre. Okay. Luigi Waluigi nonsense going on here. Alright, Le Havre. A large cruiser armed with 330mm main battery. It's a breast. We have 2 breasts in game now. That's fine. I like 2 breasts. Concentrated on the bow of the hull which has much in common with the Dunkirk-class battleships. The cruiser is named after one of the major cities in France, one of the major port cities in France. The Havre takes advantage of her tech tree sister's improved secondary dispersion to challenge for the title of Best Secondary Tier 9 Cruiser. Oh! With her fast reloading and well-arranged secondary battery layout with up to 10 130mm barrels per broadside. Okay. The Havre will always be able to have a significant portion of her secondary battery in play and is capable of dealing plenty of damage. However, she does not benefit from improved penetration like the Germans or sap like the Italians, meaning that against targets with sufficient armor, you will be relying on shots striking the thinner plating and fires to wear down your enemies. Compared to Tier 9 cruiser Brest, with which she shares a general arrangement with, she maintains the powerful 330mm main guns, albeit with reduced accuracy and a longer reload. To allow her to make use of her improved secondary, she benefits from a higher-than-average HP pool, as well as an improved repair party. Also in her arsenal is a typical French national consumable mix of engine boost and main battery reload booster, though with reduced charges. Strong secondary armament with decent HP means that Le Havre is a good chance for captains who prefer close quarters engagements. You should focus on lightly armored opponents that can't withstand the fire of your main and secondary guns for long, and for battles against heavily armored cruisers and battleships, the inertial fuse for HE commander skills is a must. So a secondary Brest, I can get on board with that for sure. Apparently they're giving the Napoli a run for its money there. Or, no, sorry, not the Napoli, that's the Tier 10. Maybe the Michelangelo, perhaps. Okay. So she has 55,300 hit points, 25mm plating, 60-second fires. Again, very breasty there. Let's see. So her main battery, 18.1 kilometer main battery firing range. Her Sigma is 1.7, though. Yeah, and her dispersion is 200 meters. That is worse than the Brest. Okay. Secondaries, they have an 8-kilometer base range and a 2.7-second reload time. What can they pin, though? So the 139s, do they say? They don't say. But I would imagine it's probably not 32. As I say, you're going to need IFHE to get those pinning 32 millimeters of armor. Okay, so yeah, I'm on board with this. Oh, yeah, let's see about the reload booster. So it's 2 charges. Yeah, 2 charges of the reload booster and 3 charges of the engine boost, 3 charges of repair party, 3 charges of fighter. Fighter's in the same slot as engine boost. She has DFAA as well and hydro, with 3 charges of hydro base. Okay. But yeah, secondary Brest, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Brest is a good fun ship. I always like getting my hands on the Brest, so that is something for sure that I will definitely be checking out when she comes out. I wonder, might this be the next dockyard ship? Since the, well, I don't know, they waited pretty shortly before the Blucher dockyard to tell us about the Blucher, so maybe. That sounds like Research Bureau, though. Maybe. We'll see. Alright, lastly, in terms of new ships, the Italian battleship Marcantonio Colonna, which is a Tier 8. A hypothetical deep modernization of one of the Francesco Carcilio class battleships laid down in 1915, which could have taken place in the late 1930s. One of the unbuilt Francesco Carcilio class Colonna is armed similarly to Tier 9 Italian battleship Giuseppe Verdi, swapping her main gun sap ammo found on tech tree Italian battleships with a more traditional AP and HE mix, though with not the best accuracy and range. She gains sap on her secondary battery guns with improved penetration and a good rate of fire. Okay, so it's a Carcilio that's been verdied. So, you know, it's a sap secondary battleship at Tier 8. Okay, the strong secondary armament of this ship means that at her helm, you want to get close and personal with your enemies. But aiming for close combat doesn't mean you can afford to be reckless, since her low HP pool forces you to pick engagements and carefully plan out the approach. Fortunately, the signature Italian exhaust smoke comes in handy here. While retaining the ability to use the exhaust smoke for defensive purposes, commanders can utilize it as a cover for approaching their adversaries, getting them into the range of their secondary armament. Alternatively, the smoke can be used for an expeditious expeditious retreat if the offensive did not go as planned. The model ship is not ready. It will be shown in a later publication. Okay. So her secondary guns. What does she get for her secondaries? She gets 12 of the 90mm guns with SAP. Okay. Okay, so yeah. A tier 8 Shippy Verde. What's the range, though? What is the range? 7.5 kilometers. That's not that great. I guess we'll see. We'll see. Apparently I'm wrong with thinking the Verde is not that great of a ship. So we shall see. Alright, we also have the Nanning and the Willem de Eerste, the models to look at. The Nanning is the Pan-Asian new premium destroyer. And the Willem de Eerste is the new Dutch battleship that is the... I can't think of it right now. The Drake? Is that what the tier 9 British battle cruiser is? It's that thing again, but more elvish this go around. And that is it for the new ships. I am most interested in Le Havre here. Le Havre. The secondary breast. That is something that and the Zarya are probably the two biggest surprises this dev blog for me. But like I said too, the I-5644 and the American destroyer split. These are all things that has certainly garnered my attention, and I will be very interested upon their release into the game. But moving swiftly right along, trying to avoid a 40-minute devblog video here, or maybe we'll go for the full 40 minutes, who knows. We have our second devblog, which is a new game mode coming in 14.4. So again, trying to keep this under 40 minutes. We're just going to be taking a look at the new game mode in this update, and this devblog concerning update 14.4. There is a little bit more in this devblog. You can check it out in the link down below in the description. But again, this is the big bit of information coming in this devblog. All right, devblog is titled Close Test 14.4 Perilous Route, Update of Operations with Flagships, and more. Welcome back to the devblog. I never left. It's time to sail into the details of update 14.4. Buckle up as we dive straight into what's on the horizon. Perilous Route. In update 14.4, a new temporary battle type called Perilous Route will be introduced to the game. It may remind you of Convoy, but this time a team of players will defend a command ship against bots. This mighty ship sustains serious damage and can't defend herself, so you have to escort her to the destination point while her crew works on repairs. If you successfully protect her during the journey, she will be able to take part in the final showdown at the end of the battle. Interesting. The battle type will have a singular main objective: to escort the command ship through its designated path, during which it will stop at 2 distinct locations. At each stop, you will receive one of the 3 available tasks that you need to complete in order to continue your journey. These tasks can be: scout an area, go to a specific area on the map and spot enemy ships. Capture an area, capture a key area defended by enemy ships. Destroy a pack of enemies in your way. Neutralize a group of enemy ships blocking the path of the command ship. Additionally, there will be 5 random secondary tasks with varying levels of difficulty. Players will have access to the special Coordinated Fleet Support consumable, which, when activated, will restore a portion of all allied ship HP, including the command ship, along with their own. The HP restorative properties of the consumable can stack in effectiveness if multiple players activate it simultaneously. Ooh, that's interesting. The battle type will take place with 7 players aboard tier 8 to 9 ships with a maximum of 3 battleships, 4 cruisers, 3 destroyers, and 1 aircraft carrier. Divisions of up to 7 players are allowed, so you can get 7 of your buddies and just hop right on in. Battles will unfold on the following maps: Hotspot and Trap. Okay, can we see what the command ship is in these pictures? So it looks like the second one, I can't zoom in on the dev blog, but that looks like British battlecruiser. Looks like maybe the St. Vinny. I mean, it makes sense. You're in tier 8 and tier 9 ships, and it'll be a tier 10 ship. Okay, so that sounds cool. I like that. Oh yeah, this is a St. Vincent looking thing in the bottom picture down here. All right, yeah, I like this. This sounds cool. It's like a more in-depth operation, if you will, but also not exactly an operation. So this could potentially be them testing out another push the cart type mode. like we saw with convoys. So maybe they're trying this out against bots right now, and then in future tests, maybe we'll have this be player versus player, where, you know, players take place of the bots and the task might be reworked a little bit. But I think that would be cool and add a little bit of variety to, you know, the traditional random battles, you know, play set of just capture the objectives and then arms race, to where, you know, you have this mode where one team is trying to escort a ship to the endpoint, and it's, you know, some tanky ship like, you know, this quote-unquote command ship, right? Maybe with some bonuses stacked onto it. The other team is trying to stop them from getting there. Maybe not. Now let's sit here and think about this, you know, with the various tasks and stuff. But it does sound like it would be a pretty fun mode, and something that I would definitely like to check out for myself once it comes out. So that's pretty cool. I like that they're adding in more of these temporary battle types that are a little bit more out there, right, than the vanilla gameplay loop, if you will. So that's cool. I like the way that this sounds, and I cannot wait to try it out whenever it is available to try out for the masses. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end the dev blog there, keeping it under the 40-minute mark. For now. Again, there's a little bit more going on with like operations with flagships. There's some tweaks coming to that and such. So if you want to check that out, check out the links in the description down below. So hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about these dev blogs in the comments down below. Again, I'm pretty excited for the new ships that were announced in this dev blog and Perilous route. So share your thoughts with us down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, wonderful rest of your week and weekend. I will be streaming right here tonight on the channel as well, from around 3:30-ish p.m. U.S. Central Time to around 6:30, 7 o'clock U.S. Central Time as well. So make sure you come out for that. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I hope to catch you guys in the next one.